Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Big Fantasy Energy. And
Yeah.
and we're doing our theme, Enemies to Lovers. This is episode 3, where we are talking about Fourth Wing. We are a bit obsessed. So I'm going to let Ashley take it away and give us our summary of the book we're covering. I like your shirt. What are you wearing,
Yes.
my friend?
I am wearing a Fly or Die Basgiath War College shirt from Etsy. There's tons of them on there. I have like
Mhm.
four. So
I love it.
yeah,
So cute.
I'm not
I'm not.
obsessed.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm not
No.
wearing anything for Fourth Wing. However, it is the U.S. Open, the tennis tournament,
Yes.
and I am wearing a sweater from
There you
Naomi
go.
Osaka's line, and I love her. She's a queen, so shout
Yes.
out Naomi Osaka. Maybe she's read
Love
Fourth
it.
Wing. Who
Probably.
knows? She probably
Probably.
has. Yeah.
Yep. Also, I do want to shout out another Etsy purchase. I've got, or no, this is a bookish box. I've got Zayden reading a book.
Oh my God,
So, you
Zayden,
know, just a just a freak.
what a stud.
So, in case you didn't know, we're talking about Fourth Wing today.
And why are we talking about it? What's our theme again,
Our theme
Ashley?
is enemies to lovers. I think that this one actually has a pretty good enemies to lovers theme. I would almost say,
So good.
um, like a lot of times with enemies to lovers, it's like they're enemies for like 5 seconds and then they're like lovers, and it's like, are you really enemies though? But no, they're like truly enemies to lovers at the beginning. Um,
Totally. It's
yeah.
so, I feel like we've done the Ren and the Holly Library at this point for Enemies
hmm
to Lovers, and we did the
The
Halfling
Halfling
Saga.
Saga.
And
Yeah.
I would say this one of the three is the most like Enemies to Lovers of the three,
I
or the
I per
longest, right?
I personally think that the Halfling Saga, A Broken Blade, I think that that's the longer enemies to lovers because Riven fucking hates Kira like 75% of the way through the first book.
Yeah, the first book. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess because I'm thinking because
because
you've
you're
read
thinking of it
three. Yeah, you're right.
holistically.
You're totally
Yeah,
right. You're right.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well,
So,
either way, I like this book
yeah,
more. So,
yep, yeah, yeah, exactly.
but well,
So
TBD.
we are going to do just like we always do. I'm going to give a summary of the book, and then I'll give my review, and then Jared will give his review. Um, we will definitely be sprinkling a lot more spoilers into this one because we are quite positive most people have read this book if they're listening in. If you haven't, you've probably already gotten these spoilers because at this point it's fucking everywhere. So,
Mhm.
yes, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in
Yes,
to
let's hear
our
it.
summary. All right. So, for anyone who might not know, Fourth Wing is book one of the Empyrean series. So far, we have Fourth Wing, we've got Iron Flame as book two, and then we have Onyx Storm, which is coming out January 27th of 2025. So
Pre-order
only a
now.
little bit. Yeah, pre-order
Pre-order
it.
now.
I've already pre-ordered like three copies.
Okay, I've only
Don't look at
pre-ordered
me.
one. I've pretty
Don't look
only
at me.
pre-ordered one.
I pre-ordered the UK edition and the Barnes and Noble
Oh my
edition.
God. I got the
So
Barnes& and Noble one pre-ordered.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Right?
these
I think
two,
so.
yeah, these two on the bottom of this shelf over here are the UK editions, and if I have those, I have to have them all. So
Yeah.
I'm the girl in Pokemon who goes around and catches like the different colors of the same Pokemon because I need to catch. Like you told me, I have to catch all of them, so I have to catch all of them.
Yeah, it
So
depends on what I'm trying to accomplish when I'm playing
yeah.
Pokemon. I'll restart for different. Anyway, but
Anyway,
big
so
Pokemon
this
fans here too,
yes,
apparently.
exactly. So this story is told from the FMC Violet's point of view. It is Violet is the daughter of a General Sorengale, who's part of the Navarian military force.
Lilith Soaringale.
Lilith,
Oh,
Lilith, Lilith.
we love Lilith.
And the generals, all the people who are higher up, they're all part of, they're all dragon riders because there are dragons in this book. And love me a dragon. We start the series on Conscription Day, which is where all the 20-year-olds in this country join up to a quadrant that they want to join. Something that's a little bit confusing for me in this is that it says it's a conscription day. It seems like it's like you have to sign up for one of the 4 quadrants. But then we also find out that like Rihanna's sister Reagan isn't required to sign up, and they're twins. So that was I don't know if it's like compulsory, like if you have to, or if you want to, you can. I'm going with, based on the side information, it's a want to, although sometimes they said like conscription's always going to be necessary as long as like people are trying to fight us. So
What are the
anyway,
4 quadrants?
the 4 quadrants are healers, scribes, infantry, and then of course our riders, the
You'd be a
bad
writer.
bitches.
You'd be a writer.
I would be a scribe, excuse you.
Okay, you know you want to be a writer, girl.
I mean, yeah, but I don't run.
Mm.
I don't jump. That's not a thing I do. I don't, uh-uh. I
I don't jump.
I am not walking across an 18-inch cobblestone thing. I'm afraid of heights. I like nothing. Like, do I
Fine.
want
I
a
mean,
dragon? Do I want a dragon? Fuck yes. Do I want
Right.
magic? Fuck yes.
Yeah.
But let's be honest with ourselves. I'm 100% in the library. That is where I am.
I would be going to Writer's Quadrant and dying, but I would be trying. Anyway, sorry, I derailed you a little bit.
No, we're fine. So Violet has spent her whole life thinking she's going to be a scribe. Her father was a scribe. She's like, that's what she's always kind of been training for her entire life. And then her dad, at the beginning of the book, her dad has passed about a year ago. Her mother, about 6 months after her dad passed, goes, bitch, no, all of the Sorrengails are writers. We're all writers. Get your ass. We're going to train you. You got 6 months to get ready for the Writers Quadrant. She, of course, passes the test because Violet is super smart, and joins the Writers Quadrant by her mother forces her. Her only goal, the only thing she wants is just to survive. Constantly throughout the book, she says, I will not die today. She's like, I will not die today. I will not die today. Violet knows also that she is what most would consider weak. She's very small. She's very petite. And she also has a chronic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. This is also something that the author, Rebecca Yarros, has. It doesn't come out and directly say it in the book, but like the author has come out and said that that's what this is, which I found really interesting. I loved the chronic condition representation. But you know what? Violet, she's smart. She's fast. She can throw a fucking dagger. She is going to try her best. She doesn't think that this is just completely without hope. So she's on her way. She's going to join the Writers Quadrant. She knows that like so many people die. She knows that the only way to survive is to get a dragon. She knows that the likelihood of her dying is very high, even for people who are super strong, even for people who are like top of their game. Her sister is walking her up to the queue. They're getting ready to walk across that 18-inch parapet, so people plummet to their deaths. As she's about to step out, her sister gives her one final warning as she's about to walk away, and she says, stay away from Xaden Ryerson.
Who?
And exactly. That who?
Stay away from the one person. From that moment, I was like, that's got to be the guy.
Stay away from Xaden Ryerson. And then literally the next page, I just saw the hottest man I've ever seen in real life. Who was it? Xaden Ryerson.
Yeah.
So
called it. Yeah.
Right. So
who didn't call that?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, forever and always. So from here, the story unfolds. For me personally, this book is 5 stars. It's extremely entertaining. Spice level, I say spice level is 3. I would say that there's not a lot of scenes. I waffled between giving this 2 and giving this 3. I say there's not a lot of scenes, but the scenes that there are very detailed. That
yeah, so it's got to be 3.
It's got to be 3 at that point.
Yeah.
So I did give it a 3 spice rating. Overall, love this book. I love dragons. I thought that the politics in it were really interesting. I thought that the story overall was really intriguing. I liked the representation in it. I liked the mythos that we're given. It's a different world than what we've really seen before. It's not just a carbon copy of everything that's releasing. I think that it's a very quick read. I think it's super enrapturing. Like, I feel like once you start it, you don't really want to put it down. Like, this is a book where, and I've told you this, Jared, this is a book where I read it the first time, closed the back cover, went, okay, and opened it right back up. I read it twice
I mean, I've never done
Uh,
that, but yeah,
yeah,
it's if there was a book to do it with, this is definitely up there.
yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like it's so easy to like if you're getting into fantasy. I think this book is a perfect book for someone who's not really
100%.
read fantasy
Yes,
before.
agree, agree.
Yes, and like wants to get into it. I think this book is perfect for that. I think that the writing is very simple. I feel like you don't get bogged down in place names and like information and like things that can be really confusing if you're trying to dive into this for the first time.
Yeah, and if
I
you're
feel
trying to
like
dive into
yeah,
it for the first time too, it's it's a girthy book,
yes, it
but
is.
it
Yeah,
actually don't let that scare you away because it
no,
is very easy to read and it
yes,
goes by so fast. So if
yes,
you're like, I want to get into fantasy, oh my God, all I keep hearing about is Fourth Wing. Oh
yep,
my God, it's so big. I can't read
yep,
this. Trust
yep,
me, trust me, trust me. Um, we've both recommended it to so many people who aren't really big readers
yeah,
or haven't really done fantasy. You know, one of my best friends I just recommended to it, and he was like very hesitant and he read it in like a few days.
yep,
So
yep.
it's definitely
It's so
possible.
good.
Yeah, it's a
I
great,
I
great
would
book.
say the one thing I would say is that if you're someone who's like writing style is really important to me. I really like very strong lyrical prose or like real like I want something a little bit more elevated. This is not the book for you.
No, that's fair.
It
Yeah,
is
not at
very
all.
simple writing. If you're someone who kind of like in I don't think that this happens like it did in Ren in the Holly Library, but if you're someone who's like if something's a little bit more juvenile, I'm not gonna get along with it. This has a couple of things that irritate me like that, but for me, not even a little bit to pull me out. I was
Oh, not at
in
all.
this.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think I like that's such a good point. Like, I think, the writing style aside, the reason we love it so much, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, is
yeah,
like it just fucking entertained me
yeah,
from the first page to the last page. I was
it,
entertained the entire time.
yeah,
I was so
yeah,
interested in so many different aspects of the book.
yep,
Um, the characters, loved them. The
mm-hmm.
family relationships, the friend relationships, the dragons.
The
Like,
dragons,
it
the
so if you're
dragons.
going in and you're kind of a snood and you're whatever, yeah, well, this probably isn't
It, yeah,
the book for
it wasn't
you,
meant for you. And you know
but you're
what?
probably also not listening to this podcast
Yeah,
if
yeah,
this
but
book
but
wasn't
you
for
know
you.
what? Also, not every book is written for every person.
Right. And
So, and that's perfectly valid. And
yeah,
you don't
fair.
have to. Yeah, yeah, you don't have to. But I think that it's very I think that it's a very well written for what it's trying to do. I think it's like she has said that she wanted this to be like an intro book for fantasy for people. And I think that like you did it, girl. You did it. You did the damn thing.
Yeah, you
And
did.
I
Yeah.
think that also what makes this book so, at least for me, like so good is like you were saying, you were always in it. You were always ready for the next bit. You were like always like this book almost reads like a movie. Like it reads almost like you're watching the movie. Because there's always like something that we're moving towards. Like it's almost like you can hear the music going in your mind
Yeah,
and
and
are moving
she's
forward.
so, for what she lacks in some ways with her writing, she does paint such a clear picture. Her
Mhm.
descript like she's
Mhm.
so descriptive. It's really easy to, I don't know, it just like you
It
feel
doesn't
like you're there.
meander. It doesn't meander.
No,
Like it
not at
sticks
all.
on point and moves forward, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Very
Give me more.
clear, very
Yeah.
descriptive. Yeah, she's great.
Yep. So yeah, overall, that's how I felt about it. I think that the magic system is really cool. I like the idea that like your magic is determinant upon like
Your
you and your
dragon.
connection with the dragon.
Yeah.
I really liked that aspect of it. I thought that that was really interesting. I like the different classes of dragons. I like this like mythology that's like brought in, and I like the like that they're like this thing that everyone's like that's just a myth is now the bad guy, like the Venom and the Wervin. Like I'm here for it. Give me more.
Love it.
Um, it's and then like you're rereading it for the first time right now,
Yeah.
and I know that like
Rereading
yeah,
for the first time.
rereading
Yeah.
it, yeah. I know that like this is your like kind of one of your first like rereads like period, and I had a
Yeah.
question for you earlier, and I think like we can talk about it now too. Is like for me it didn't, and like I gained more, but like on a reread, do you feel like it still holds? Do you feel like it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm liking it more on the reread.
yeah,
Well, I don't know. That's not fair because I loved it so much the first time.
yeah.
I'm
But
liking it just as much. Like it's not losing anything. It's not like
I,
there's not all these other issues that are
yeah,
coming up that I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm still just as entertained. I feel like I'm
For
picking
me,
up
it's
more
also like,
things.
thank you. That's what I was just about to say. I think you get more because like the
Yeah,
things
and
that
I'm like,
happen towards
ooh,
the
that makes
end,
more
you go back
sense.
through
Yeah,
and you're like, no,
totally.
no.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
let's
I'm
let's hear
really.
your review. Let's hear your review.
Yeah, I mean, mine's not going to be very long just because I want to get into the spoilers
Yeah,
of this book. But I
yeah.
mean, for some context, so we kind of talked about this in our intro episode, but I was a big reader before, really fell out of reading for quite a while and would read every once in a while. And then, Ashley, us being friends for a few years now, she's always kind of inspiring me to like, I should start reading again. I should start reading again. And then, of course, I'd heard of Fourth Wing. So Fourth Wing was actually the first book that I picked up in when was that?
June.
June. So, and then cut to since June, I've read like 40 books.
Yep.
So, from like June to now, so in 3 months, I've read like 40 books, and Fourth Wing really sparked all that interest.
Yep.
Um, so good. It's 5 stars for me. It was like a very easy 5 stars to give. Same thing with Ashley on the spice. I would say 2 to 3, but like to stay consistent with our ratings, we did say like if they actually do the deed, we would rate it 3 stars for,
Mm.
sorry, 3 spice.
Yep.
So it's definitely 3. Not super frequent, but it's in there and it's great.
And it's pretty detailed. Like that's
Yeah, and
like more of
it's
the 3. It's like
yeah.
it's like there's a couple of scenes, but the scenes like one of the scenes is like I'm shitting you not like 18 pages long.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was like
So
literally I was like, how many? Oh my God,
yeah,
this is
no,
they've
I
got
had
some
a
endurance up in this.
right,
They got some endurance up in these 20-year-olds. Good grief.
right,
Whew.
right. And I had a friend who like she was listening to the audiobook. I knew it wasn't really going to be like this wasn't really going to be her speed, but she was like listening to it and she was like at work and she got to that part and she was listening to it and she was like, Ashley, Ashley, like I'm doing it, like I'm the one doing it to her.
You're like, oh my God,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, so definitely 5 stars. I think something like as we go into like more reviews on different books, like you'll kind of see like things that Ashley loves, that Ashley
Mhm.
gets annoyed with. Like for me, things that I love and things that I get annoyed with. Something that I really loved, like I'm such a sucker for like a sibling bond, and
Mhm.
like I have 4 younger sisters, so um Violet's relationship with her older sister Mira, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Love, 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 love. And I
Yeah.
love a complicated, like tumultuous relationship with a parent. Like,
Yeah.
who can't relate to that, right? So
Exactly. Exactly.
Violet's like relationship with Lilith is just like, oh, I love that relationship. And it just there's so many good parts. Like obviously Zayden's, a Xaddy. He's the best. He's
Zaddy.
great.
He is the
Love him.
original
And
Zaddy.
something that Ashley's brought up in our other reviews of the Ren and the Holly library of like, if you're gonna be the enemies to lovers, like bad guy, like be like there
Mhm.
needs to be more weight
Do
to
the
it. And
damn thing.
yeah, and Zayden like does the damn thing. Like
Mhm.
he's such a, I just love his character. And like from the beginning, like even when he was a bad guy, I was like, I love this man. Like this man
Yeah.
is amazing. I want to know more about him. I'm
Mhm.
so intrigued. Like more,
Well,
more, more.
even when he's like becoming less of the bad guy in Violet's eyes, like he's still a bad guy.
Yeah,
Like he's still doing the same. Like he's not changing himself. Like he's still doing that. He's still being an asshole to everyone else. He's still being exactly who he is.
yeah.
He's not softening.
Well, and two, I
Um.
think too is like what they didn't do in the Ren and the Holly library is like why he's perceived as a bad guy from the
Mhm.
beginning, like the
Yeah.
history of his family, like his
Yeah.
actions, like it's very clear, like, oh, I see why he's
Yeah.
this person. So anyway, loved it. Like you said, the writing style was like nothing to like, for lack of a better phrase, write home about. But
Yeah.
it didn't really like it wasn't even a focus for me because the
Mm-mm.
story
Yeah.
was so it was
Yep.
just so great. And if it's not for everybody, I think something that I heard someone say this, and I don't know who I was with, but we were like all talking about books, and there were other people that have read, and they were like kind of making comments of like, oh, you're reading like kind of like I thought I was so cool because I had read 15 books in a month or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, I was like, my friend's reading double that. I'm just telling you what I read. Like it's
Yeah.
not like um but they were kind of like, oh, Fourth Wing, like they were too good for Fourth Wing, which
Yeah.
which
You
is
get that a
fine if
lot. You get that a lot
yeah,
if you read romance or if you read like popular books. Like I've had that since I was in college.
totally.
Because little known fact, I have an undergrad in creative writing, and I've always been a romance reader. You want to
Yeah.
talk about looking down your nose at someone for liking what they like to read? And I'm like, girl, come at me, because like,
Well, and
yeah,
what's
I
so
might
and
not be right. I might not be reading literature or anything like that, but I'm reading over 200 books a year. So, and I'm enjoying it.
well, and at the end of
I'm
the day, it's like
Yeah,
I can't stand people who like shit on other people for things that they
yeah,
like. And
yeah.
another thing is, it's like when you like when it almost gives the same vibe of the queens out there, like
Mhm.
to the gays and the theys, who are like, well, I knew Chapel Roan and loved Chapel Roan
Yeah,
before everybody else did. I'm like, who gives
yeah,
a fuck? Like,
yeah,
we like her now. That's great. So
yeah,
you thinking you're so cool because you don't like Fourth Wing, like, get
yeah,
over it. That
yeah,
is to say that I will not be embarrassed
yeah.
ever for
Because
telling
there's
people that I
also
liked it. It's so good. I
exactly.
just loved it.
I love it.
And
Yeah,
I think, I don't know, I really can't, like, that's my review. Five
yeah.
stars. We'll talk about it like that's as spoiler free as I can be. Really enjoyed it. There was a lot of um, things I think that she, like, breadcrumbs she left that I was,
Mhm.
as far as like the political intrigue side of it, where I was like, ooh, there's got to be more to this society.
Yep.
And she's setting it up, which of course we
Yep.
find out later. There is
Yeah. Yeah.
so much more. But yeah, it was really interesting. The characters were intriguing. Um, the angst of the relationship between the enemies to lovers was super, super
Mhm.
fresh, I felt like, and I loved it.
Yep.
And I loved a lot of the secondary characters, which
Yeah.
I have to
That
love
leads me
them
into
too.
my first question for you then.
Perfect. Okay, so that is spoilers commence. Is that what your
Spoilers, spoiler zone
spoilers
on.
commence?
Put
Yeah.
your spoiler ears on. Um,
Your
that leads me
first
into my
question.
first
I'm
question for
ready.
you is
Okay. Okay. Okay.
favorite character, least favorite character.
Oh my god. I hate you for asking this question. Okay. So, okay, we're talking Fourth Wing only. We've
Yes.
obviously read
We will talk about Iron Flame. We'll do an episode on it,
separate.
but we're going to talk about it separately.
Okay.
There's too much in these books. So, break them up in your
Okay.
brain.
So, okay. Okay. This is so hard. So, I am in love with Xaden. So let me just like
Okay.
say that, like, who isn't? So like I just love
Yeah.
him. So
Like if someone could give me Xaden,
I'm just
I'd
crushing on
take
everything
it.
about him. Like if like he
Yeah.
would be the type of person, and I'm like a 6'6", pretty
Yep.
confident man. Like if you meet me in public, like I don't like I'm very
You're
confident in
confident?
who I
I've never
no yeah well I just mean like
never seen
I'm
that.
what does it used to be very like a lot of I'm very self-conscious but also
No.
confident. It's very interesting.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you meet me in person, like I'm very comfortable, maybe that's the right word, of who I am.
Mhm.
If I met Zayden in person, girl, I would be fumbling over my words. I would be like, I wouldn't know what to do. I would be like
No.
swaying. I might pass
No.
out. And that is a dead ass. Like, I'm not trying to
Listen.
exaggerate.
No,
If I met him
listen.
in
If
person,
mm-mm.
there's no way.
It would be a situation of like if I met him in person, it would be one of those situations where you'd be like, Ashley, go talk to him, or Ashley, go say hi to him. And I'd be like, you would have to physically drag me because
Right.
I would be like, hell no, I
Right.
cannot talk to that human. That
Yeah,
is
like I would literally be
not
like, "Hi." He's like, "Hi, my name's Zayden." I'm like, "Hi, me
like.
too." Like that's something I would like. I'm like, "My
I'd be
name's
like,
Zayden too." I don't know. I don't know what
I'd
I
like
would do.
make eye contact and then like.
No. So okay. Anyway, but totally. So
So is
that's
that your
just that.
favorite character?
No, I know. I'm giving
Okay,
the like the
okay,
longest answer. Probably Rhiannon. Like
okay.
I love
Yeah,
Rhiannon. I love a
she's great.
friend. She's
You know
got
what? She's loyal from the beginning. She comes
she's loyal
in
from the
and she's
beginning.
like, I am here. You gave me your boot so I didn't die. And we're now bonded. We're
Yeah,
together.
Rhiannon's
Yeah.
great. And then I would say Rhiannon and Taryn are it's probably a tie for
Yep.
me. So those are
Okay.
my two favorite characters.
Yep.
And then I just
Least
like
favorite character.
okay. Um Dane.
Okay.
Is that surprising to you?
No. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
can't fuck with
surprising.
Dane. Okay, as soon as I
No,
read
Dane's the
Dane,
fucking worst.
yeah, but also
Dane is
it's
horrible.
I'm not saying that other characters aren't worse than him. He was my
No.
least favorite, and here's why is like
Because he's
I
a
cannot
little
handle.
bitch.
Yeah, he's a little bitch. But other than him being a little bitch, I can't handle like I hate self-righteous people. Like
Mm-hmm.
hate them. Like
Yeah.
I'm not obviously being self-righteous is not equivalent of murdering people. Like we get that. But there is nothing that like okay, this is can just hear me out. Murder is wrong. Murder is wrong, like right. But in this
Mm-hmm.
context of this
Mm-hmm.
story, like if you murdered someone, my thought would be like, wow, that's wrong and that's super uncalled for. But you might
Yeah.
have a good reason to have done it, right? Like there's
Okay. Yeah.
right, like or
Yeah.
self-defense. Like
Yeah.
there is no good reason to be self-righteous.
Yep.
That's like there's no like, well, I'm self-righteous because I'm better than other people. Okay, that's a terrible reason. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so he just gives me like such like pick me like
Yep.
mentality and I
Yep.
cannot stand him. And I couldn't
Nope.
stand him even whenever he was like being written as like for our perspective of like being this like helper to
Yep.
her and like she's who he should reach out to. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't fuck with him. I don't like him
No.
from the beginning. But even before there
No.
was issues with Zayden. So
Yeah.
favorite character Rhiannon and Taryn,
Taryn.
and then least favorite Dane.
Okay.
Your turn. Who's yours?
My favorite is either Taryn or Andarna. Dragons. Like Sigale also comes in really close
Oh,
there. There. I
she's
mean,
so
like
good.
I
Yeah.
once again, these are all the dragons. These are just the
Yeah.
dragons. I'm like,
If we had
cool.
scales, like if we heard scales like mine more, she might move up on me
Yeah. Yeah.
just because I love her, but she's just not in it as much as Taryn. So
They're
it's
all sassy. They
so sassy.
and
Is that
I'm
part
here
of
for
their
it.
DNA? Like
Just
the
being like,
dragons being sassy as
yeah.
hell?
They're just like, bitch, we've seen shit. You're not like we're giving you power. Calm the fuck down. You're
Yeah.
not cool.
Right.
So I love the dragons. My least favorite character, and this might be a hot take, is
Wait.
Violet.
Okay, wait. I was literally gonna say because you let me guess, and I was thinking
Yeah.
violent, but I was gonna say
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
so talk
it's
me
not that I
through.
dislike her, it's just for me, she makes things so hard on herself for
Mm.
kind of no reason a lot of times. And I think
She
that
has a very big
she's
communication problem.
huge.
She's a
And I
terrible,
also
terrible
feel
communicator.
like on the one hand with Dane, she's like, don't hold me back. And like, I like that she's like starting to learn her strength there. But then on the other hand, she a lot of times is a little, woe be me. And like, these things keep happening to me kind of mindset. And I don't like that very much. I,
But what's crazy is what I like about
yeah,
what you're saying though is like both of the characters we don't like or that we our least favorite characters add to why we love the book,
yep,
right?
yep,
Like I would say, like I
yeah,
wouldn't want to change Dane because like
no,
even though like he's fucking annoying and I can't stand him, I liked
it's
having
necessary for the
for
story.
the
Yeah,
story, right? Do you feel the
yeah.
same way with Violet, or were you kind of
Yeah,
like, I wish she
I
was
mean,
written differently?
yeah. Obviously, Violet is necessary for the story, and I think that like what
Well,
she's
no,
going
yeah,
through.
but like
I think
the
that
way she
here's the other
is.
thing. Here's the other thing is, and I tell people this a lot when I'm talking about like the bad things of Fourth Wing, is I always put it into context of her being just turned 20.
You've said that to me. Yeah,
And
that's
like
so
these people
true.
are 20 to 23.
Right, because
A
Zayden's like
20-year-old woman's
23.
he's 23. A 20-year-old woman, your brain is not completely formed. Your personality is not completely formed. You are still learning who you and I think anyone who's been to college or been in their like late teens, early 20s will attest to this, not even in college or anything like that. Will attest to this that you are learning who you are. That's like the most critical time for you actually figuring out who you are for most people is between the ages of 16 and 23.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and also like everything, like the amount of stress that
yeah,
all of
yep.
them have to
And
deal with
everyone's like,
at that
yeah.
age is crazy.
So I give it a lot of leeway for that, of like, she has a lot of room to grow and learn. I just hope that she does.
I hope
Like,
she does too, because
yeah,
I will say, like, this is not like we're not getting into the second book. She got more annoying for me in the second book, but
yeah,
in the first book, she didn't annoy me too much. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's a good question. I
um,
feel like you have so many questions, so I'll let you. Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
questions do you have about?
So isn't necessarily a question, but I also do want to spend a little bit of time talking about little fuckboy Dane. Um, little asshole that is Dane, because as you're rereading and as you now know what like you know what his power is, we learned it pretty early in the book anyway, But now that we realize what he's done in Fourth Wing, where he goes and tells his daddy that like Violet and
his asshole trash, like I
yeah,
would knee him in the stomach, daddy. Like if I
yeah,
saw his dad in person, I would look because I know I'd be looking down at him because I'm
right,
huge, and I'd be like,
yeah,
"You little worthless
right.
explanation for a man."
But
Like,
now that you're doing the
ugh.
reread, are you going through and counting how many times throughout the book Dane touches Violet's face?
Okay, no, but I'm not counting, but I've been like, "Oh my God, he
You
freaking touched her
noticing it?
face again."
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, totally, yeah."
It
His
happens really early
which
on and it
makes me
happens
even
really
more
consistently.
which makes me even more annoyed with him at the end
Yeah.
when he's trying to like defend himself because I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't a one-time occurrence.
Yeah.
You
But like
are
but then the question is he doing it every because like he doesn't have to do it every time. Is he
right,
doing it every time or is it just that one time because they're so used to touching each other?
right,
Like
because he
she's
might
so
not.
used to him to yeah. So it could be either way. So
Either way, I just don't
he's a little
really
bitch
vibe with him
boy.
as a character.
No.
I also think like just his whole premise of like, like this is what the rules say. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, get
But then also if that's what the rules
when it
say,
applies to him,
yeah,
like when
when
he
it applies
wants it
to
to
him
work
or
for
like
him.
wants it to work because the other thing is that like he's the one constantly trying to drag Violet out of there because Violet
Which is
might die
against the
and it's
rules.
against the rules.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Oh
No,
my God. Also, like
he's an
it doesn't.
asshole.
They're like, well, but he loves her. I'm like,
No. No, no, no,
that
no.
just that's not
Love.
an
That's not
excuse,
love.
and that's not love. He might
Yeah,
think it's love,
that's
but
yeah, because I mean like honestly, he's being super controlling, telling her what she needs, what she can do, what she can't do. Like,
cannot stand Dane. I can't talk
he's the
about. I
fucking
mean,
worst. He's the fucking
he is
worst.
so awful, and I will say he is written as very attractive. So
Yeah. Have you seen the fan art?
noted.
The fan
Is
art of like everyone in this book?
yeah,
It's
they're all hot.
absurd.
They're all
It's
hot.
absurd. I'm
They're
like,
all
what? Of course this is a magical land. Of course
yeah,
this is and I'm
yeah,
like, fine. Like you're
yeah.
all 15 years younger than me, but fine.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, they're all gonna like Zayden at Zayden at our age sounds even hotter than. I'm like, oh
Right.
my gosh, imagine him just 10 years older, 12 year. Wait, how old are we? 13 years older.
15. We
No, because he's
what?
23,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 12
So yeah,
years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. See,
So
but yeah,
math.
so
But yeah, no, it's I fucking little bitch boy Dane.
can't stand
I
him.
can't stand him
Oh,
either. Also, like yeah, it's just everything with him is just the fucking worst. But to move to another segue,
okay, yeah, for sure.
Liam.
I cannot. I literally don't think I'm
Liam.
gonna be able to reread that part.
It's bad every time. I'm not gonna lie, it's
I
bad
think I
every
saw
time.
something probably on TikTok. It was probably on TikTok, but it was like talking about like the things that Xaden says to Violet that are like showing
Mm-hmm.
his love to her. And then
Uh,
there was like a line that Liam says to her, and whenever he's like, um, whatever, it's like it's been my honor, like,
yeah,
uh, like because
yeah, no,
one how he treats Violet amazing, what he's
yes,
been through amazing, and
yes.
then just like it's so I feel like in the
And
real
knowing he's
world,
leaving his sister behind and like he has been separated from his sister for so
oh, his
long
poor,
and
me and
it's just like and
sisters,
he's
younger
so
sister,
yeah
I'm like,
and
oh,
he's so nice and he's so
so
thoughtful
nice,
even when
so
Violet's like
thoughtful.
pissed off even when like and he like gets his power and it's a really cool power and
Yeah.
then like Violet saves his life he saves Violet's life like
hmm
it
Well, and
is
he's so like besides
such an
being like
adorable friendship too
so
between them.
adorable, and he's such a great like something they don't really like. I mean, he has so many great qualities, but he's also very empathetic. Like
Yeah.
he knows when Violet's feeling some type of way.
Yeah.
He's like making decisions like with her in mind. And
Yep.
then I also think, in the real world, I feel like there's so like loyalty in books is just so has so much more weight than it
Yep.
does in the real world. And like
Yep.
he is so loyal to Xaden,
Mhm.
and that makes me like just he's just a great person. Like he
Yep.
is probably
Yeah.
he is what Dane thinks he is. Like
Yeah.
Liam
Yep.
is what Dane thinks he is.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
oh
Um,
man.
but then I love Rihanna. I love Riddick. I love Sawyer.
Yes.
Imogen. I also like, even though
I
she was like
like
a bitch at the
Imogen.
beginning, I like
Yeah.
Imogen.
Yeah.
I
Her
like
little
Imogen.
pixie cut
Yeah,
hair. Yeah.
I like we see it like barely starting. Also, there's a deaf character in this book,
Oh
Jacinia.
yeah. Oh, just
Um,
yes, I love her.
yeah, I love Jacinia. She's a scribe, and I adore her. But then we also see where like, Liam also knows sign language and talks to her. And then Sawyer's starting like Sawyer like we kind of get a little bit towards the end where he like Sawyer kind of like sees her, and I'm like that obviously is leading into book two too.
Yeah.
But I'm just like Jacinia forever. Like if anyone hurts Jacinia, I will burn the world to the ground.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, she's obviously not a huge character, but
yeah, we get,
she's so
but
important and she's so
mhm,
like just honest, true. Like she's
mhm.
just such a sweet, innocent
Yes,
character and I
love her,
love her.
love
And
her.
to be as innocent and great and like, almost timid, I would say she's a bad bitch too because she puts a
Hmm.
lot of things at risk to help
Yeah,
Violet. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
love her.
So moving on from there,
Oh
I
God.
also like now I'm gonna kind of segue a little bit back to Dane, but I'm
Okay.
all like I don't want to do like a like we've already talked about Zayden a lot, and we all know Zayden, we all know Zaddy, we all know that,
You are really making me
but
have my heart palpitations keep bringing up Dane.
because
God.
he's the fucking worst.
Oh my
But
God. Okay.
one of my throughout the whole thing, Dane is supposed to be her best friend, also kind of her love interest, and she's into him. He is constantly putting her down, constantly telling her how much she's not going to make it, constantly telling her how, like, she's just weak, she can't do it, all these things. Then you have the flip of that is Xaden, who is the bad guy, who is her enemy, and like is actually a bad guy to her in a few circumstances. But through all of this, anytime he's talking to her, anytime he's telling her something, it's never you're weak. It's, hey, you might be smaller, but that means you have to come at it from a different way. Or like why don't you do that? That will get that person. Like he is always supporting her, even when he's being a dick. And it's such a difference from Dane. And I kind of wanted to just kind of talk about that a little bit. Like,
Yeah, I think it's like even with Zayden, I think he almost empowers
yep,
Violet, and that's a big attraction she has to him because he like wants to protect her, but he doesn't see her as this like
weak.
delicate, like
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't see her as weak, and also
I mean, violets, come on.
yeah, exactly, and he kind of like you say like stop protecting her, like
Yep.
it's not doing her any good, and you
Yep.
are actually going to
You're
get her
going to
killed.
kill her. Yeah.
It's almost like like the compliment, like oh he's so nice.
Yep.
And I'm kind of like, when people tell me I'm nice, like that is not a compliment to me. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't care if you think I'm nice,
Yeah.
but like you can be nice and polite and whatever, but there's no like actual caring for someone. Like I want a friend who's going to be like, tell it to me
Hmm.
straight,
Yep.
like be there to support me. And it just, Zayden seems so much more, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
he is kind of an asshole at times, but he's kind of treating everybody the same. Like it's not like he
Yep.
treats. I mean, he's a little tougher on Violet than he is
Yeah.
on other people,
But
but he's got
also
every right
just
to.
yeah, and also every right from several circumstances, but because there is no discounting that she is more physically a hindrance, and she has more to make up for, and she has to find different ways. He has to be harder on her because she has to work out how to do that because like people aren't always going to be there to push her to that. She has to start thinking about those ways around
Yeah,
now.
and that way he's showing that he cares for her
Yeah,
more than the way Dane's showing he cares
yeah,
by like trying to like
yeah.
circumvent the whole process and get her out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
One of my favorite scenes that really shows this difference between Xaden and Dane is actually the scene where they go and where the squad has won that competition and they go out to where Mira's posted, and
oh
then Xaden comes like
yeah,
3 days later and he's like, and Dane's all pissed off. He's like, "What are
yeah,
you
like
doing here? Like you should
so
be like you're
annoying.
gonna destroy her, like blah blah blah." So they go off to where Mira is, and
Mhm.
like Xaden comes after like 3 days and Dane's all pissed off, but like, you couldn't even make it 3 days. Is this how it's always going to be? And then like Mira's like, is she just like Violet's just gonna be missing her training? And Xaden's just like, guys, I'm here I'm here. I am missing my training. I am here where Violet needs to be. Like,
Right.
he
Like
supports
how
her even in those circumstances. And
totally
yeah, so I'm like, that's one of my favorite scenes for that because I think that like,
same.
and then Dane is also being a little bitch boy of like,
I can't stand
not under
him.
like, because he's like, I'm so smart, but then he's like, when they're like trying to do that war game thing, he's like, he
Oh
can't
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
around anything, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, guys. I also love that that's the first scene where we figure out that they can talk to each other in their minds, and
In
I'm
their
like,
minds, yeah.
bitch,
I forgot about I mean I forgot
bitch.
about that. Yeah, like that. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
dude, no one wants to
Wow.
be in here. No one
Right.
wants to be in
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
So
please. Zayden
half
would
the time,
support. Zayden would support you and
right?
love you.
Well, half the time it would just be me singing songs in my head, making up things as I'm going throughout the day. I'd
Oh
be
my
like, la
gosh.
la la la,
Or thinking
buttering toast.
or thinking about Fourth Wing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
literally just thinking about Zayden using those shadows on me in really fun ways.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Also,
he can lift physical matter with those
right.
shadows. Bitch, those are
Mhm.
extra hands. Thank
Oh, 100%. And he uses them as such at
yes,
different
as
times,
he
as
should.
he should. You got to
If
use
you
the
have
tools that you
it,
can
you
get.
gotta
Yeah,
use it.
you got to flaunt it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, okay, so something that like we hear in the first book and we kind of we know is that the signet powers, when you have a
Oh, right.
dragon, you get the signet power, one signet power per person. There's a couple of little caveats to that. Of course, we have the big loophole of Violet who has two dragons. So even in book 1, we know she's going to get a second signet. Um Based on what you've kind of heard and read, do you have a theory on what Violet's second signet is going to be?
I don't know. Something, not what I've read, but just like I know that their signets don't relate to like directly to the dragon, but
Mm-hmm.
something about Andarna's power
Mm-hmm.
makes me think that it might have something to do with that, but I don't really know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think if anything, it's gonna. You know what I honestly think? I think it's like I don't really have a guess because I feel like it's gonna be something related to like I think it's gonna be something that makes sense, like something kind of obscure that's gonna like be
Mm-hmm.
needed for like a
Like
later
the
book.
upcoming stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I don't really know. I know you probably have like so many
Where
theories. Tell
where
me.
I am where I am now, I'm kind of the mindset that it's going to be a little bit time related and a little bit scribe related. I
Mhm.
personally think that what she's going to be able to do is like when reading a book or like interacting with books or content like something, be able to kind of put like go back in her mind and kind of see what was actually happening then, like almost like a not foreshadowing but like backshadowing almost, so she can kind of see what happened when someone was writing something, because I think that that's going to be important for them because they're having to like
Yeah. That could
that's
kind of
what I
relate to
personally
like
yeah.
Andarna's power because she stops time,
Exactly.
so it's kind
Yeah,
of like
exactly.
yeah.
So that's why I was like, it's kind of a mix of because like the other thing that's like related to her, so she's got lightning, she's a weapon, like that, like but in the beginning of the book, she says how much she always liked storms, she's always liked lightning, she's always felt like that, and her mom also has storm power. So if you think like genetically, like that kind of makes sense. Um, so like I was like that made sense to me. Lightning was fine, but I think like the other big aspect of her life is like scribed. It has to be something for me. It has to be something related to knowledge. It has to be something related to like books in some way.
Hmm.
If it's super minor related, like I'm fine with that. But again, it has to do something with that.
Yeah. Which I feel
So.
like that only makes sense.
Mhm.
I also kind of like that we're like we're only talking about one book, right? But
Mhm.
we're 2 books in and we still don't know, right? So that's kind of nice that there's still like some element of like
Yeah.
surprise or mystery of like what's going to be like we still have things to find out naturally for the
Yes.
third book.
Because well,
So,
this is also a 5 book series.
right, which I'm still
So
like I don't know how it's going to be 5, but
yeah.
I'm down for it because I feel
Yeah.
like 4 seems, but who knows? We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. End of the book. Brennan Like, that was a shock. That was an awe.
Yeah, that was.
Like,
Yeah, I will say I kind of.
yes,
I didn't call it. Like I did not.
no.
In no way did I call
But
that
you
at
felt like
all.
something was hinky about the brother's
But I
death.
was just like there's something more. And then selfishly, the fact that like they like mentioned that he's in love with like he had a partner or like he's in love with a man or
Hmm.
right. There was like obviously he's gay. Like
Yeah.
they very slightly touch on it, like that the person who saved him, right? Like that's in the first book, correct?
I can't remember. I think
I'm
it's in the
almost
second book,
positive.
but I think it's in the second book.
Oh shit. Okay.
You're fine
Well,
though. You're fine. You're fine. You're
anyway,
fine.
he may or may not be gay, and if that's the case, I was really like, oh, I
Yeah.
really hope he's. I would hope there's more, or like she talks more
Yeah.
about his character.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was like, oh shit, well, he's alive. So,
I'm like, yes, love it.
spoiler.
Cool.
What did you
Any
think?
questions?
Any questions for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I would say you've read so many
Mhm.
fantasy books
Mhm.
and so many that have dragons. Like, what about this book just like really, really made it so magnetic for you?
I think that it's a lot of what we've been talking about is about how like fast paced it was, how action packed it was. There was a really good romance in it. I felt like it was grounded enough in like language that we could understand very easily, but a different enough world than anything we've really seen before. I think all of those elements played into it being the phenomenon that it was. Um, because like let's also like point out one of the other really big like literary phenomenons of like this kind of genre, which is ACOTAR. But ACOTAR didn't have its big jump and its big like release into the world of like people going crazy over it until like 2020, like that. But it came out years before. I read I read ACOTAR the first time in like 2017.
Yeah,
So like it wasn't as popular then. Now, mind you, some of that's going to be social media having like really sprung up during COVID and stuff like that.
right.
But I think that the elements that are in Fourth Wing lend itself better to being like this big viral um push. I think that like it's
Mhm.
so much easier to understand. You're not getting lost. You're not getting like weighed down in like some murkiness. Like yeah, there's like mysteries and yeah, there's twists and plots and there's things that are hidden, but it's not like everything in the story is a secret. It's not like every time you turn a corner, someone's telling Violet, no, you can't know that. Like she figures out a lot of stuff and she kind of grows in the world that she's been placed into, and we grow with her. Like she gives a lot of like she has a really like Rebecca Yarros does a really good job of giving us like this world building and it through like dialogue. Now I know some people don't like that, like in the spurts where like Violet's training or walking across the parapet and she's like giving information about the world to like calm her mind. I think that's a very good vehicle for the dumps of this information. And it makes it easy for people who are reading fantasy for the first time because they're not stuck reading the first 20 chapters and it's all this like world building in order to set up the story that we're going to lead into. It
Yeah,
flowed when we needed to get that information.
yeah,
So I think that those are the things, like even though the writing's a little bit simplistic and sometimes a little bit juvenile, and I think that it works because it makes it very easy to read, very easy to move through, and uh, create something where you don't really want to look up. So
yeah, totally. Okay, and then
yeah,
I have one more, and it's kind of two parts. So, because I want us to finish on a high note, because we obviously love
yeah.
this book, but was there anything? It's two parts. So the first part is, was there something that you did have a problem with? So, like something that you were kind of like, this kind of, stuck out to me. It was a little bit of a grievance for you.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the second part is good emotion, bad emotion. Like, what was the most emotional part of the book for you? Which I feel like
Okay.
everybody has the same one, but
Yep.
what are those two
First,
parts?
first, anything that like pulled me out, made me like anything that
Yeah.
was a problem for me? No,
Yeah. Good.
no,
I love
there
that.
wasn't.
Yeah. This is the hey, we're
Um,
episode 3, and this is the first time
yeah,
we've had anything. Yeah.
yep, no, there wasn't. For
Mhm.
you, was there anything for you that was like,
Nothing that pulled me out. Like that's the thing is like kind of like you talked about. Like there were things that I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of annoying, but
yeah,
nothing pulled me out. And by
yep,
that's kind of annoying, I'm talking one thing, and it makes sense that you talked about how the author has that condition, and that actually
mhm,
paints a very specific picture. And I see
mhm,
now it doesn't actually annoy me as much. I do think the first time I read it, I kind of got a little annoyed by how much they like emphasized how frail or small
mhm,
and petite
mhm.
Violet
That's
was
something that irritates me, period, because
because I'm just like,
we're
wow, these
big
characters are
people.
just like
Yeah,
tiny little women. Like, okay, we get it.
yeah,
She's tiny and like she
yeah,
gets this big, hot, strong man. But what about the 6 foot?
yeah.
So what about the
Thank
6'2"
you. I
girl?
get mad every
Yeah,
time.
I
This
like
guy is
so
6'4" and he's dating a girl who's 5 foot. Bitch,
right,
I need that shit. I'm
exactly.
five
And she's
foot
like, oh, I'm
ten.
so petite and frail. I'm like, okay. And then just in general, like everybody, but it makes sense, right? Because they're
Yeah,
here at the, they're trying to ride dragons and fight venom, right?
yeah.
So they need to be fit, but it's also kind of like all of them are the same body type. Like they're all just like
Mhm.
fit, strong, athletic people, which
Yep.
is fine. But I mean, it makes sense for the story. So that kind of, I was just like,
Yep.
I wish there was a little bit
Yeah.
more like
Yep.
body diversity. But it didn't like pull me out at all. I was like, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Hello, they're still
Yeah.
sitting here like training for
They
war.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, loved it. And then what about your most emotional, like just
Uh Liam was definitely extremely emotional. Like, I very rarely cry when I read a book, but Liam made me
yeah,
cry.
same.
I wasn't prepared for it. I also was not the same level of emotion, but also just like very astounded of like, it wasn't like a crazy big shock. Like, it was a crazy big shock, but it wasn't like thinking back, it was like, yeah, there was lots of like things were going on with Brennan, but like that was still like really surprising to me. And I was like, you're gonna
Yeah.
fucking end now?
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
know.
then I will say, along with the Liam situation, the whole situation around that whole scene where like she's betrayed by Xaden, where they find out that like the separatist kids are working with the Griffin riders and all that. Like when she finds out all that, like that was also really emotional for me. And then it leads into Liam because like it breaks
Very
my heart.
emotional.
It breaks my
Yeah.
heart that she's like mad at Liam when he dies.
Yeah.
Um, and
Oh,
so, yeah,
yeah.
all of that for me. I mean,
Yeah.
what about you? Is it Liam? Is it Liam?
Yeah, it's Liam too. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. The other thing I would say is just in general, not like crying, but like everything about Andarna gives me like teary
Oh,
eyes. I just love
I
her.
love
Just like
Andarna.
her interaction, I'd
I
love
love
her
her.
character. It's
Her
almost
in
like
book
it's
two.
oh my God, I
I
can't in
can't
book
wait
two.
to talk about
But
it.
even
Yeah.
in book one, I just think she's so it's almost like, there's that commercial in the 90s of that boy who like makes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for his mom and like she like he puts it in a little bag and she goes to work and it's
Nope.
just like so cute. He just like
Yeah.
makes her
Yeah.
a sandwich. She's like, Mom, I made this
Yep.
for you for lunch.
Yep.
And like that gives you like teary eyes, like, oh, so
Yeah.
sweet.
So
That's why I feel
sweet.
like every time Andarna's on the page, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, just love
No, I
her.
get it.
But yeah, Liam, hello. That was like
Liam,
gut
duh.
wrenching.
Duh.
Gut wrenching.
I will also say for anyone listening, anyone who hasn't, my recommendation is definitely to listen to this on graphic audio. If you haven't heard of it, Jared, graphic audio does like
Haven't.
each character in the book is a different voice actor, so you get a full cast of characters.
I literally saw
And
that today when I was buying the audiobook like recently and I bought it and I was like, what's this other one?
yeah, and
But I just got
then
the regular one.
yeah, and then there's also background music. There's like if it's raining, if it's storming, that sound is there. If they're walking, you can hear like footsteps. It is
Wow.
so good. And talk about Liam's scene in graphic audio. Listening to, I was like,
I'd sob.
I
I
might
can't.
actually perish. I might perish right
Oh
here.
no.
My heart might
No, no,
just
no,
stop.
no, no, no.
So graphic audio is so good, and I highly recommend it. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it is in like it does break the book into two parts. It's just so much content.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
But
gosh, we did
yeah,
it. We talked about Fourth
we
Wing.
talked about Fourth Wing. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
Yeah.
Enemies to Lovers. This is episode 3 of Enemies to Lovers. So, before we talk about what's on episode 4, I'll have Ashley talk about that. But I wanted to shout out a local bookstore. So, here in
Yeah.
Austin. So, our first episode, we mentioned an Austin bookstore. Our second episode, we talked about an online store that's located in
In
the
the
Northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And this one is called Vintage Wine and Books. It's on the east side of Austin. Who doesn't love
Yep.
wine and books, right?
Right.
It's an older like home or building
Hmm.
that was like
Yep.
renovated. It's so cute and it's fairly
Yes.
recent. I think maybe a year or two old.
It's like, yeah, like I actually went to their opening, I think it was last summer.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
fairly new. They have a pretty good. They have like a little room inside the bookstore that has like it's all fantasy and sci-fi.
Yep.
So they've got a good selection. It's a super cute place to work. They have like different events and
Yep.
things that they
They
do.
do I've been there. I went there for the Iron Flame release this
Oh,
last year, and they
yeah.
did Fourth Wing trivia before the release, and they do Fourth Wing and Iron Flame trivia all the time, and it's so good. I have so much fun going there. I
Mhm.
love that place.
And the
So
people who work there are amazing. Like
they're
they
so
will give
nice.
you recommendations. Like I went and bought a book recently and like they were recommend like the girl sitting having a glass of wine was like, "Oh, I've read that. It's so good." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
great." So, it's amazing. You should check them out. So,
Yes, highly recommend. All right, so for book 4 of our Enemies to Lovers saga, we are doing What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. And yeah, we'll be talking about that, and we're really excited about it.
so thanks for listening to Big Fantasy Energy, and
Yes.
we'll see you next week.